Hello everyone, this is a different kind of video I'll be doing. So today I wanted to do a tier list of every character in Forsaken. First off, we're going to go off of every single survivor, and I'll also be playing like a clip of me playing as that survivor, showing basically just a clip of gameplay of them. Not my may not be great because well, I haven't played in a hot minute. So let's first go off of survivors. So the first one we have on the list is Shaletsky. Shaletsky is a sentinel, and Shaletsky, I'm going to be putting him right now, like what I think of him, A tier. He's an A. Why I think he's A tier are for his two abilities he gives. One of his first ability is Slash, which allows him to slash the killer, and stun them for I think it was 3 seconds, I believe. Yeah, it was 3 seconds. There's a clip playing right now. I think it will show how long it is. And the second ability, which is Fried Chicken, which heals Shaletsky for 40 HP, which is insanely good. It basically allows him to both attack and both be like to support the team, and also he can heal himself. So he is a really great survivor for new players because he's free and he can both defend himself and heal himself. So A tier he goes. Next up, next up on the list we have is Elliot, who is a support. So he's gonna go in A as well. He's he's gonna go in A as well. The only thing that really doesn't get him going is that he is going to rely on both you and your team being incredibly good because Elliot's mainly get tunneled out. But luckily, one of his abilities helps him out for that, which is Rush Hour, which you get one token from, healing, which you get which you start off with one token. Once you use that token, you have to get another token by healing another teammate with Pizza. And Pizza will heal a certain amount of HP, and the more generators are done, the more it heals. Although I believe that if while it's healing, the healing can be interrupted if a killer attacks that survivor. And one of the main things that Elliot's have to face is, as I said, tunneling. Because most killers will tunnel out supports if they're doing an exceptionally good job at keeping the team alive. Rush Hour though gives you three speed for around 3 seconds, so you're able to get away really quickly. But just be warned, you better choose where you're going first, because if you don't, you can get yourself stuck in a corner yourself, or in a bad situation with no stamina. So overall, A tier for his supportive abilities, because he's by far one of the best supports ever in the game. Next up on the list we have is Noob. Now, Noob is a little different from the other survivors. He's a survivalist, but he has three abilities. His first ability being Cola, which after drinking gives you speed 1 for 10 seconds, which is really good. And then his second ability, which is Slick Skate, which allows you to basically nullify damage for, I believe it was 5 seconds. Second ability is Ghost Burger, which allows you to go nearly invisible and will, if a killer uses an ability for aura reading to see where you are, you can pop the burger, and you will disappear, so they cannot see you. Noob is by far one of the best survivalists to be in a last man standing because he has three abilities that are insanely useful for him, and overall a great survivor to play as. And if you spot really good noob players, they will loop that killer for the entire game. But most of the time, though, when you see a noob, it's a noob player. So he's going to go into B tier for him. Sometimes being a good, because it is depending on the player. Next up on the list we have is Jane Doe. She's going in A tier as well. She's going to go into into A tier as well, high A tier. Reason being, reason being, her abilities. But actually, I'm actually gonna put her in high B tier because why she would go in there is because it depends, as I said, on the player. Because her ability, she has several abilities and two passives. First one being error for a digital footprint, which allows her to see the killer's footprints, where they have gone. Second ability, Shatter Point. You start off with 20 Shatter Points, which is basically an overshield that you get because Jane Doe is it has the lowest HP pool out of all the survivors. That's where Shatter Point comes in, which you can get up to 30, which acts as 30 HP and also gives resistance, I think, resistance 1 on it. So a little bit of defense for it. You can regain Shatter Point by throwing Bottle Pitch, which throws resonance onto survivors or killers, and then her axe ability, or axe swing, which when she swings onto the killer gives her resonance, which gives her Shatter Point back, or if you have resonance already applied onto the killer, stuns them. And if you get up to 3 stacks of resonance, stuns the killer for around, I believe it was 5 seconds. I don't know though, I haven't played Jane Doe that much recently, ever since I did Jeffrey's Adventure into Forsaken. But overall, that's why I put her into B tier because she has both the lowest HP pool but she can also have the second lowest. She can also have the second lowest HP pool titled Juziker for her ability for her Shatter Point. So it really depends on the player and also the killer. If the killer is smart enough and knows how to dodge your pitch throws, then you're gonna have a hard time landing them in your axe swing. So high B tier. Next on the list, Builderman. Builderman is the second survival class in the game with 2 abilities. First one being Sentry. Once Sentry is placed, it will slow the killer. It will put slowness 2, I believe, or I think 1 onto the killer until they get out of range of the sentry out of the sentry's range, or if they destroy it. The sentry has 35 HP, so it takes around on average two hits from a killer to destroy it. And if you get really good maps, it can be one of the best. You can put the sentry in really good spots where the killer cannot reach or has to go to an inconvenient spot to get. Second ability is Dispenser. Dispenser allows Builderman to place a dispenser that will heal the survivors by 1 HP per second in a small little range. It has 10 HP. It has 10 HP and I would recommend putting this in corners where the killer cannot see it. That way survivors can go over there and heal. But if the killer finds that area, they will most likely destroy it. And Builderman is very weak on his own. Because once his things are destroyed, he basically has nothing to offer. So for his reliance, I'm going to have to put him into B tier as well. Second survivor on the list is N7. Now N7 is an interesting one. N7 has three abilities. First one being Clone, which makes a clone of himself, which if you're very low on HP can take the hit for you or trick the killer. Second ability is Cool GUI, which allows you to teleport around to the furthest point on the map. And Inject. Inject allows you to change the pathing of the clone from aimless to pathfinding to cursor, which allows you to control it with your cursor. I'm going to have to now. N7 is by far the clones are very obvious. You can tell if it's a clone or not. But most N7s will use their clone as a human shield to shield themselves from damage. And sometimes will even fake a kill, take the kill animation onto the killer, which really which punishes the killer for killing it, or a gashing wound. So, but but you got to learn how to play N7 because N7 is a little difficult to first learn. Because most of the time you're just gonna use. Because most of the times new players will just summon the clone, and let it go wherever it is, and killers will know exactly where N7 is. Other than that, he's all right. So I would have to put him in a low B tier. Next up on the list, the infamous 2-time. I don't even need to say anything. He goes in S tier for how broken he is. Mosquito Mosquito Time is by far the strongest sentinel in the game. He has two abilities and one passive. The first ability is three abilities. First ability is stab, which allows 2-time to do a front or back stab on the killer. Front stabs heal 2-time by 10 HP and do not stun the killer and grants around, I believe it was 25 obliviation. Backstabs, however, are healed 2-time by 20 HP and 45 obliviation, and will stun the killer for 3 to 4 seconds. Second ability is crouch, which allows 2-time to crouch and become near somewhat invisible, and if you use stab while crouched, you will dash forward. Allowing you to do good allowing trick stabs with it, or to get away from the killer. Third ability is ritual, which allows 2-time to place a ritual down on the map, and it is visible to all. And as we all know, his passive is the obliviation meter. Once filled up, will do two things. If 2-time goes below zero HP, 2-time will respawn with 40 HP and weakness 4 for a good while, which will allow the killer so it is a very bad idea to spawn to be near your ritual when you die, when you have full obliviation, because the killer can instantly go back onto you and gain 30 seconds instead of 15 seconds when they kill you, 45 seconds. Because once you're killed as 2-time, you still grant time, which is 15 seconds. Or if you are the last man standing and you have full obliviation, you will respawn with 110 HP. So overall, and 2-time, and as well as anyone. Or if you don't have it full, you'll just respawn with your wings. Overall, though, he is by far the strongest. Alright, next up on the list we have is Guest. Guest has, originally I was going to plan on having him in A, but then he got reworked. So Guest now is a lot different from when he originally was. Guest abilities are block, punch, and charge. Block allows Guest to block a basic attack, an attack, and if he does block an attack, he will be granted to his punch will grow yellow instead of white, and if clicked within 1 second, I believe, you will parry. You'll do a parry instead of a basic punch. Parrying will stun the killer. For around 3 seconds. Second ability, and then his second ability, charge, which allows him to charge into killer, pushing him back and dealing 5 damage. And grants him resistance. I believe resistance 3. Third ability is punch, which allows him to punch the killer and put slowness and helplessness onto them. Or parry, which allows him to stun the killer. Guest also has 2 passives, which is priority hitbox, which means he will take the hits more over the other survivors, unless that killer has piercing. Second passive is him. Second passive is him having more HP than all the other survivors. Also, when Guest does a successful block, he is granted 10 overshield. Over 8, basically a 10 shield, which acts as HP. Overall, though, he is by far one of the best survivors in my opinion, and I believe he goes into S tier as well. Plus, this might be biased though because I play him a lot. Although there are a lot of guest mains who tend to just do generators, but still S tier along with 2 time. Next up on the list we have is Taff. Now Taff is also going to be in a similar situation as Builderman because when Taff has nothing, it doesn't have his traps down, he heavily relies on the other teammates. But the difference is between him and Builderman is his things are a little less noticeable. Plus, you can put his first ability is Tripwire, which allows him to set a tripwire, and if the killer walks over, they are given slowness 2 for 3 seconds. Second ability, and is very obvious by a thin line and the wooden markers. Second ability is Space Trip Mine, Subspace Trip Mine, which allows him to throw a little subspace box. Throws him a box that will act as a trip mine. Once the killer gets near it or hits it, it will activate, granting them subspace ability, and if they don't hit it, it gives them helpless for 3 seconds and blurs their vision. Overall, though, I'd say he'd go into A tier as well. Second, Deuces. Alright, next up on the list, we have Dussaker. I'm going to say this now. The only reason he doesn't go in, I would have originally put him in S tier, but tunneling is a thing. Man, do all Dussaker mains know before the changes, if you are playing Dussaker, prepare to get tunneled out within the first 5 seconds of the match starting. Dussaker's passive is levitation, which means he doesn't produce footsteps. His first ability is shield, which allows him to shield other survivors from damage or protect them from one lethal attack, and the shield will shatter. The shield lasts for around 3 to 4 seconds. Second ability is Plasma Beam, which if he hits a survivor, they are given 15 over HP and a speed and 1 speed or 2. I think it was 1 or 2 speed for around 2 seconds. Or if he hits the killer, he gives them slowness 2. Overall, a really great survivor, just suffers from tunneling. But he is a high A tier, in my opinion. Next up on the list, we have Veronica. On release, this girl was stupid broken. If you were a slasher main, you all know the trouble of trying to hit these skaters off of their ramps or anything. But now she's been balanced where she's in a reasonable spot, but still pretty strong if you're fighting a good V player. Vs cannot be healed by medkits, dispensers, or Elliot's Pizza. They have their own healing ability, which is Battery. They start the match off with, I believe it was 50% of it, and they can get more by doing generators or doing tricks or phasing through killer or bumping the killer. They're different tracks. So their first passive is Metal Frame. Second passive is Battery Charge, which, as I stated, Metal Frame doesn't allow it to get healed. First ability is Vandalism, which allows them to spray paint on objects, which allows them to use their second ability, which is Skate. Skate allows them to pull out their skateboard and when they get near an obstacle, they can press the space bar and do a trick. Doing 3 tricks in a row grants them some battery charge. Third ability is Broadcast, which allows them to switch their broadcast. And then their other ability is when they're in the actual skate. They're in their skating ability, which they have different tracks, which are mobile, phase, defense, and defense. I believe it's called. 3 tracks, which each offer different ability passives. Phase allows them to phase through the killer once pressed. Bumper allows them to push the killer, propel the killer further. And mobile allows them to control their turning more. Overall, though, V I'm going to have to say is probably going to be another A tier survivor. Next up on the list, Chance, the gambling master himself. Chance is by as literally as he is the luck based survivor. It all depends on RNG for him. For his 3 abilities, which is coin flip, which allows him to gain if landed on heads, gives him a token. If landed on tails, gives him weakness that can infinitely stack. When he gains a token, he gains 2 of his abilities, which is Flintlock and reroll. Flintlock allows him to fire his gun, which has at the start, which has a chance of either firing, not going off, or blowing up in his face. Reroll allows him to reroll his HP, and to the lowest, I believe, 55, to the highest 130 HP, making him both the weakest and the lowest and highest HP pool on a survivor. And his 3rd ability, which once you have 3 tokens, which is the max hat fix, which removes the stacking of weakness and fixes the flintlock if it blows up. Overall, he's very luck based, but if you know how to play with him well, he's pretty good. But I'd have to put him in E tier. All right, we are now on to the next group, killers. First up on the list, as we all know, we have slasher. There are 2 types of slashers. The new players who don't know what they're doing, or B, the players that have played this game a ridiculous amount of time and know how to play him extremely well. Slasher has 2 passives. His first passive being he has the smallest terror radius out of all the killers. Second passive is him being able to pierce everything, pierce infinitely, and bleed. Every time he lands a slash, he makes the survivors bleed, which in his slash deals around 20 damage, and the bleed lasts for around 3 to 5 seconds. And deals 1 HP per second. His abilities include Raging Pace, which allows him to be unstunnable and buffs and allows him to continually move. This ability is very good for when you're low on stamina and need to regain, but continue chasing a survivor. In this state, every single one of his slasher's moves their attack is increased. Second ability is Beheading, which deals 20 damage and applies helplessness for around 3 seconds onto a survivor, but applies slowness onto you unless you use Beheading to kill a survivor, which does not put you into a kill animation. Third ability is Gashing Wound, which if landed allows you to deal 50 damage normally, or 75 damage if in Raging Pace, which is basically slashers and move, which you want to use to punish survivors. For example, if a Shaletsky misses their slash, a 2-time misses their stab, or a guest trying to block you, or a Jane Doe. Overall, he's a very good killer, but new players can play him too, so he'll be in B tier. Next up on the list, we have is Cool Kid. Cool Kid is probably the first killer ever anyone ever buys, and he is an interesting killer. His first ability, which is Corrupt Nature, allows him to throw a projectile that deals 15 damage and applies slowness onto survivors if landed. The projectile itself is pretty slow, and it is very obvious when he's using it. You want to use this around corners to catch survivors off guard, but they most likely will predict it and will most likely stop running there. You can also use the projectile to deal damage to dispensers or taps, traps. And his second ability, which is Walk Speed Override, deals 35 damage on base and applies the burning effect onto survivors, which I believe deals 10 damage once it's over. Overall, Cool Kid and his third and final ability is Pizza Delivery, which allows him to summon two bots that will follow the nearest survivor and will attack them, applying the burning and slowness effect onto them if landed. It's a really good ability to stop survivors from going one way and force them to go towards you. But you want to be careful when using this because Chance can kill all three of them. Chance can kill all three of them when you try using it. Overall, though, he is an A tier killer. Next up on the list, John Doe. John Doe has two passives. First one being a corrupted trail, which just behind him has a corrupt trail. When stepping into deals damage and applies the corrupted effect onto you. Second is Unstoppable Force, I believe it's called. I don't remember the name of it, but how it works is if you use Error 404 or Corrupt Energy, when you're about to get stunned, you will only be stunned for 2 seconds, and given a speed 1 for how many sentinels are alive, and will half the timer of the ability that was going to be used when getting stunned. Second ability. So first ability is Corrupt Energy, which allows him to summon spikes, which deal damage or can be used to trap survivors. Second ability is Digital Footprint, which you stomp your foot into the ground, putting a large circular area, black, or depending on which skin you're using. When a survivor steps into it, they're given corrupted 2, I believe it is, and slowness 2, while you are given speed 1. Second ability is Arrow 404, which allows you to see all the location of all the survivors for around 3 seconds. Overall, John Doe is a very good killer. It's just that you have to learn how to play with him. You have to learn how to play with him just because he's not a killer that you can just pick up and learn instantly. It takes time and practice for you to learn. But when you play him right, he is an absolute powerhouse. So I'll have to put him for now in tier. Next up on the list, we have Noli. Noli is a killer similar to how Cool Kid works, but basically a little different at the same time. Noli has the ability. Noli's passive is Hallucination, which allows him to which the round starts with fake generators. If done all the way by a survivor, summons a fake Noli and fake dispensers, fake pizzas, and fake Dusser's shields. First ability on the list is Void Star, which deals around 15 damage. Noli when you Noli can throw this ability, or which has an area effect, or he can detonate it midway through by re-clicking the clicking the Void Star ability again. This move is really good to fake out doing a basic attack on guests, forcing them, making them do a block for nothing, or to hit survivors behind walls. Second ability is Void Rush, which once you charge up, allows not only to dash forward that you can somewhat control in an arc when you hit that you have to hit. They can hit the survivor that deals 10 damage for the first one, and if you hit the survivor again, you deal 40 damage. And you can hit, and if you want, you could basically ricochet off of different survivors to hit all of them. Third ability is teleport, which allows not only to choose between generators to teleport to. The closest survivor is the less hallucination they get. The further survivor is the stronger the hallucination is. This is a great ability for map traversal and whenever last man standing is happening, to go to the nearest generator that the survivor is at. Overall, he is an S tier killer. Next up on the list, we're gonna look at Guess 666, or Sixer for short. Sixer is an interesting killer. For his passive is Blood Harvest. I believe it's called. I don't even know what it's called. I just call it Blood Harvest. Which every time he lands a hit on a survivor, or if he uses Demonic Cry on a survivor, grants him a meter to fill. And once fully filled, allows him to go into Blood Hunt mode, which stops the timer and boosts all of his abilities up. First, Demonic Cry turns into Demonic Scream, which deals damage and grants strength. Strength 1 onto Sixer. Second ability is Demonic Pursuit, which allows you to either dash forward or arc it to where you can jump up at survivors. And has two slashes instead of one. His first slash deals 20 damage. His second slash allows him to lunge forward and deal 10 damage, but if miss, applies slowness onto you. And uses up 10 blood to use. Overall, and it applies the hemorrhage effect onto survivors. Overall, a very good killer, but he has a wider hitbox, so you have to learn how to play around loops better. Still an A tier killer. Next up on the list, Nosferatu. After his recent buff, this guy has gone from low to the lowest tier for me since I've now finally played him for the first time. He is very strong. His abilities Blood Hook allows him to deal damage if hit, and also when you reel in the survivor, deal more damage. Second ability, Cataclysm, which deals 10 damage and puts an area around the place that applies the bleed and slowness effect if survivors step into it. Cataclysm, and then his Hunter's Feast ability, which puts the creature effect, which allows Nosferatu to deal more damage to survivors with it applied, and makes Nosferatu nearly invisible, which I have to say, this guy is almost invisible when you have the creature effect on. And his second ability, Transcend, which allows him to transform into a bat, which if you spam the space bar, go up and charge up or glide, and allows you to deal a good amount of damage to survivors. Yeah, he is a very powerful killer. I played him for the first time ever to understand, to see why people say he was so strong, and I now understand why. And is an S tier. Definitely an S tier killer. And last but not least, we have 1X. instant S tier for how strong he is. Instant S tier. Now this might now I'm not gonna say there are many reasons why he's S tier. The first off is every time he lands a hit, he applies the glitch and poison effect onto survivors. Originally, the glitch effect would just make a bunch of glitch effects onto your screen, but if you turned on epilepsy mode, it would reduce the effect by major amount. But now it has now been turned into where it covers your stamina and HP bar, so you don't know how much stamina or HP you have. Second, his second ability, which is Mass Affection, deals 35, I believe 30 damage or 35, and applies glitch and poison effect onto the survivors. It's a very and if hit up close up deals I believe 70 damage. Third ability and his second ability now is Entanglement, which allows you to pull survivors forward to you, and they are unable to move for 1 second and are given the helpless effect, and deals 10 damage and and as I said, pulls survivor 2. So basically it's the get over here. It's basically just Nosferatu's Bloodhook, but you don't have to play FNF to get it. His third ability is Unstable Eye, which allows him to see the survivor locations, and once upon use, grants a 1x speed 1 for 1 second, where it was speed 2. I don't know. I don't remember. And then his final ability is Necromancy, which allows him to summon minions on every time you kill a survivor. You are allowed to summon a minion, and it's recommended that you summon a minion instantly after killing a survivor to give yourself more time. It also allows you to block off areas that if a survivor runs into, they are about to get ganged up on by a bunch of minions that will kill them. Now, I'm also going to clarify one thing. I also want to say one thing. 1x isn't really isn't a luck-based killer. I keep seeing a bunch of videos of people saying, oh, he's luck-based. He really isn't, though. It's like because he has the most projectiles. It's basically saying like how Bloodhook and Hunter's Feast or Corrupt Nature and Noli's Void Star or Dondo's Corrupt Energy is luck based. No, it's about skill. The more you play, the better you get at learning survivors pathing. They just say luck based I believe is because of 1x being just having the most amount of abilities that give him such a head over most. But if you know how to play against him, then he's by far. Then you can really just loop him around for for the entire match without him even landing a hit on you. But I will say what is luck based on him is what map he is on. Because if you get a really bad map for him, then he's going to suffer a lot because he has to go down to that area to hit the other survivors. But other than that, I'm still going to put him in S tier. And that is all for the tier list. This is my final tier list. And I hope you all enjoy. Bye.